The Manchester Grammar School is the largest independent day school for boys in the United Kingdom and is located in Manchester, England. Founded in the 16th century as a free grammar school, it was formerly adjacent to Manchester Parish Church until 1931, when it moved to its present 28-acre site at Fallowfield. In accordance with its founders' wishes, MGS has remained a predominantly academic school and belongs to the Headmasters and Headmistresses Conference. In the post-war period, MGS was a direct grant grammar school. It chose to become an independent school in 1976 after the Labour government abolished the direct grant system. Fees for 2012-2013 were £10,545 per annum. Motto, coat of arms and school badges. The school's motto is Sapere Aude, which was also the motto of the council of the former county borough of Oldham, granted on 7 November 1894. Sapere Aude is a quotation from Horace, famously used by Immanuel Kant and also the motto of the Enlightenment. The MGS coat of arms, which the school displays in the Memorial Hall, were the arms borne by Hugh Oldham, Bishop of Exeter. It consists of the arms of the Bishopric of Exeter and Oldham's personal arms side by side. The Exeter arms depict the keys and sword, emblems of St. Peter and St. Paul, to whom Exeter Cathedral is dedicated. Oldham's family arms display owls, which it is assumed were chosen as a pun on the first syllable of his surname, and red roses, indicative of his Lancastrian ancestral origins. During a visit by the Queen to MGS in 1965, it was discovered that the school had, in all innocence, been using Bishop Hugh Oldham's personal episcopal arms. Heraldically, this is improper practice, though such use of a founder's arms by scholastic establishments is not uncommon. As a consequence, the Old Mancunians undertook to finance an application by the school to the College of Arms for an official grant of arms, particular to itself. Arms are honours, and all honours in the United Kingdom stem from the monarch. Heraldic matters come under the jurisdiction of the Earl Marshal, the Duke of Norfolk, and he is approached in such matters through the College of Arms in London. The officer of the college who dealt with the school's petition for a grant of arms was Colonel J.R.B. Walker, Clarenceau King of Arms. The senior school badge is an outline of an owl, carrying a banner with the word Dom on it. This is a heraldic canting reference to its founder, Hugh Oldham, and the badge should be read as Owl Dom. This suggests that he pronounced his name, as the local accent in Oldham still tends to do, as Odom. Owls are also to be seen in the shield of the borough of Oldham. There is possibly a second significance to the Dom, of which Hugh Oldham, as a bishop, would have been very well aware. D.O.M. was and is a standard abbreviation for Deo Optimo Maximo, meaning, to God, the best and the greatest. A phrase of dedication often required to be written by schoolboys before the Reformation and in Roman Catholic education since, at the head of a new piece of work, a practice continued into adult life by many as they committed a new undertaking into God's hands. This badge replaced the original one when the school colors changed from red, black and yellow to dark and light blue to reflect its connection with the universities of Oxford and Cambridge. The junior school badge, which depicts the face of an owl, was introduced to blazers and ties in 2008. History. Foundation. The founder, Hugh Oldham, a Manchester-born man, attended Exeter College, Oxford and Queen's College, Cambridge. After having been tutored in the house of Thomas Stanley, 1st Earl of Derby, historical accounts suggest that he was not a particularly learned man, but was in royal service, being a favoured protégé of Margaret Beaufort, Countesses of Richmond and Derby, mother of Henry VII, and became recognised for his administrative abilities. He was appointed Bishop of Exeter in 1505. His great wealth came from his water power at corn mills on the River Ourcq near Manchester, which were subsequently used to fund the school's endowment. On the 2nd of July 1515 he signed an endowment trust deed establishing the Manchester Free Grammar School for Lancashire boys. A site was purchased in September 1516 and construction took place between April 1517 and August 1518. The combined cost was £218 and 13 pence s. 5d, largely given by Oldham, but with the help of his and the Beckswyck family, who had provided an earlier endowment for a school within the parish church. A more elaborate deed in 1525 set the detailed rules for the school until the late 19th century. The original deed promoted godliness and good learning, and established that any boy showing sufficient academic ability, regardless of background, might attend, free of charge. The school was situated between Manchester Cathedral, then a collegiate church, and the church's domestic quarters, subsequently Chetham's School of Music. Later, Oldham's great friend Richard Fox, the Bishop of Winchester, wished to found a monastery. Oldham, however, convinced him instead to found Corpus Christi College in Oxford and contributed 6,000 marks. Oldham also had a hand in the founding of Brasenose College, Oxford. Thus he did a great deal in establishing places of higher learning. Early history. The original foundation provided a schoolhouse in the curtilage of Manchester's Parish Church and 2 graduates to teach Latin and later Greek to any children who presented themselves. The school was intended to prepare pupils for university and eventually the church, the legal profession. Typically, pupils would have stayed for 8 to 10 years before leaving for university. There was often enough money to fund bursaries or exhibitions for pupils. In 1654, the world's first free public library was formed next door to MGS in what had been the church's living quarters. This was facilitated by a bequest from a wealthy businessman, Humphrey Chetham, which also served to create a blue coat orphanage there, schooling 40 poor boys. By the 18th century, there are thought to have been between 50 and 100 boys in the grammar school at any one time, 3 or 4 of whom each year were awarded exhibitions to Oxford and Cambridge. An extra room had been built onto the schoolhouse for boys who needed instruction in English before they started Latin, and another master was employed to teach them. The 1515 building was replaced on the same site in 1776. This was on 2 levels, an upper school for the Latin and Greek pupils, a lower school for the English pupils. Boarding houses were added and many of the upper school pupils were boarders from surrounding counties. When De Quincey came as a boarder in 1800, classes were held at roughly 7 a.m. to 9.00, 9.30 to 12.00 and 3 p.m. to 5.00. By 1808 consideration was being given to moving from the site, as it was becoming insalubrious. But this proved impossible as the deed could not be changed except by Act of Parliament. Going from the old church to Long Millgate, one is in an almost undisguised working men's quarter, for even the shops and beer houses hardly take the trouble to exhibit a trifling degree of cleanliness, is a narrow, coal-black, foul-smelling stream full of debris and refuse. A commercial school, in parallel with the classical school, and more suited to Manchester's business climate, was established in the 1830s. By this time the school was getting richer on the proceeds of the mills which provided its funding and had a growing surplus on account. Its fathers were mostly landed gentry from outside Manchester, and they were heavily criticised for running the school to suit the needs of their offspring rather than as originally intended, the poor of Manchester. This led to a long-running suit at the Court of Chancery, which eventually promoted the commercial side at the expense of the classical side of the school. The area around the school continued to change. During the 1840s, Victoria Railway Station was completed opposite the school and the church became Manchester Cathedral. Then, in the 1870s, a new building, the Manchester Grammar Extension, was built, designed by Alfred Waterhouse, and including new classrooms, laboratories and a gymnasium, reflecting the wider curriculum that had developed since the 1830s. It was connected to the original by a first-story bridge. It was said that the bridge's purpose was not for ease of movement between the parts of the school, but rather to dwarf Chetham's gatehouse both in terms of size and grandeur. The tenure of Michael George Glazebrook as High Master, beginning in 1888, saw the introduction of 3 changes according to pupil Ernest Barker: a system of prefects to keep order, the singing of school songs conducted by John Farmer, and the wearing of school caps and school hats. Recent history: by the early 20th century, the school was increasingly receiving funding from the state. This was negligible in 1901, fees providing 3/4 of the income, most of the remainder being from the foundation. But by 1931, state grants contributed nearly 30% of the total, and the number of pupils had increased to 1,100. In 1930, the school moved out of the city centre to accommodate a growing pupil body and provide a wider range of facilities. The new location chosen was Old Hall Lane in Fallowfield, where the school still stands today. Both of the school's earlier buildings lay empty, and while the former was destroyed in the Second World War, the latter, renamed the Long Millgate Building, became a teacher training college in the 1950s. In 1969, Chetham's School of Music was founded and occupied what had been the orphanage. When the teacher training college closed in 1978, Chetham's took over the premises. After the Education Act 1944, MGS became a direct grant grammar school, which meant that the bulk of funding was provided by government. Entry was by merit and parents were means tested, and fees paid primarily by local education authorities on a sliding scale. Fees paid by parents amounted to less than 20% of the total income. It reverted to independent status in 1976 after the Labour government, in the person of Education Secretary Shirley Williams, abolished the direct grant funding system. Bursaries continue to support the merit-based recruitment system by abating fees for less well-off pupils. When the Assisted Places scheme was rescinded in the late 1990s, MGS was the first school to react with a seminal bursary appeal, whose patron is Prince Charles. The appeal has accumulated a value of over £17.5 million and finances bursaries given to boys whose parents are unable to afford the school fees. Scholarships are not awarded. In 2015, the school walked 500 miles to celebrate its 500 years anniversary. Boys and teachers were asked to raise money for the bursary appeal and walk a mile each. Over 240 pupils currently receive help from the fund. Buildings. Main building. The main building was designed in 1929 by Francis Jones and Percy Worthington. In keeping with the style of Oxbridge, it features a quadrangle and a grandiose memorial hall. Entrance to the quad is by a tripartite arch under a clock tower cupola. There is also the Pattern Library, MGS Archive Room, Common Room, Refectory, Medical Center, Bookshop, Gymnasium and Swimming pool. This is in addition to classrooms and administrative offices. The MGS Theatre has recently undergone extensive rebuilding to provide a modern and comfortable auditorium, together with studios for rehearsals and drama teaching. The Drama Centre campaign is chaired by Sir Nicholas Hytner, who brought Alan Bennett and the actors from the History Boys to launch the campaign in 2006. The main building also houses the Parker Art Hall, which is a three-story art studio, situated in the south side of the main building and named for former High Master J.G. Parker. It includes a ceramics department with 2 kilns on the ground floor and also a dark room for photography. Since opening in 1931, the site at Fallowfield has seen many additions to the accommodation. Chemistry Wing. The Chemistry Wing adjoins the main building. It currently houses the chemistry department, although originally housed all the sciences. The upper floor is used for middle school biology classes. The building at one time had 2 entrances which led to 2 non-connected corridors. This apparently inconvenient design element may have arisen out of a safety concern, since it served to separate middle school experiments from those undertaken by sixth formers. The corridors were connected before the start of the Michaelmas 2008 term. Mason Building. This is the school's language department, named after P.G. Mason, a former High Master, during whose tenure the building was erected. On the ground floor there are the language labs, 2 suites of listening stations, mainly used to practice the listening parts of national exams. This building was originally the school's 6th form block, and was built in 1966–67. It is joined to the main building on the ground floor by the Patton Library. Marx Building, named after former pupil Simon Marx, founder of the Marx and Amp Spencer Empire. It is just west of the main building, and was erected in 1958. Major extensions were made by addition of the first floor and the Israel CF Lecture Theatre, which were opened on the 19th of September 1962. It currently hosts the following departments: Physics, General Science, Geography and Computing. There are 5 physics laboratories, including one for radioactive experimentation, on the ground floor. The main computer room is situated on the first floor of the Marx Building. Theaters and Drama. CF Theatre is named after former pupil Israel CF, is situated at the end of the Marx Building and was refurbished in 2006. It is used for lectures and assemblies, as well as being the venue to Muslim Friday prayers. The school has replaced its original lecture theatre with a new drama centre. This was opened in November 2010. Sports Hall and Rectory Building. The Michael Atherton Sports Hall was opened by Mike Atherton in 1997 and subsequently used by the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra in recording of a live CD. Upon entering the hall during a tour, conductor Jean-Pascal Tortelier is said to have clapped loudly and, on hearing the acoustic qualities, immediately requested the venue for a concert. The sports hall was severely damaged in a gale in February 2014 and had to be demolished. A new sports hall is currently under construction. There are also 2 squash courts adjacent to the sports hall. The former rectory of St. James's Birch in Rusholme. It is located near the sports hall, and is the home of the biology department. However, only A-level biology is taught there. The pavilion contains changing rooms for sports teams and a cricket scoreboard. It is linked to the Butty Bar, a cafe serving light meals. On the upper floor is the temporary 6th form common room and study center, replacing what had once been the music department. Music School. Located at the rear of the school, it is the building where the music department is based. There is a music library in the basement as well as a dozen of some music practice rooms, each having a piano, used for private lessons. It contains a keyboard suite allowing first and second years to learn basic keyboard playing, and a hall on the west side used primarily for orchestra rehearsals. The original part of the building where the practice rooms are now located had been used in the 1950s and 60s as a bicycle shed. Junior school buildings. In September 2008, MGS opened a junior school for pupils in years 5 and 6, and its doors opened to years 3 and 4 in September 2011. Boys entering the junior school do not sit an entrance exam but attend an assessment day and gain automatic admission into year 7. The junior school buildings are both state-of-the-art timber buildings, constructed from sustainable materials imported from Estonia. Junior school pupils in years 3, 4 and 5 are located in Plessington Lodge. Year 6 pupils work in Bexwhite Lodge. Archive Room. The former Alan Garner Junior Library has been converted into the Ian Bailey Archive Library and is opened for pupils and visitors to research the history of the school. Outdoor Study and Pursuits Centres. The school owns the Ol's Nest, a large hut situated in Disley, south of Manchester, near to Lyme Park. The original ex-army hut was opened at Christmas 1920, but it was destroyed by a German bomb on the 23rd of December 1940, and a replacement was provided in 1950. The building is used by forms and activity groups of the school as a base for outdoor trips and camping expeditions. It is most frequently used by classes in years 7 and 8 who spend a weekend there with the form teacher and from prefects. Wide games such as British Bulldog take place in the surrounding fields, and orienteering challenges in nearby Lyme Park. The name refers to the school's logo of the owl. There are 4 annual school camps, which have been in existence for many decades. They are held at Grasmere, Luton, Bassenthwaite and Borrowdale. In Grasmere, the school has its own campsite donated by Old Mancunians in 1931. Visits to camps take part in the annual Activities Week, which is a week in which an impressive array of co-curricular activities are on offer to pupils. In 2009, MGS opened the Old Schoolhouse, its new outdoor study and pursuit centre in Kirby Stephen, Cumbria. Set on a hillside with stunning views of the Vale of Eden and the Lake District Fells, the facility offers opportunities such as DOF expeditions, choral and concert practice, art workshops and courses on the theory of knowledge. The purchase of the Old Schoolhouse was made possible thanks to the generosity of Old Mancunian John Young and his wife Elizabeth.